Hey y'all. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about traveling, my experiences traveling, advice, how I got started traveling, and I will point out slow travel, okay? Yeah, just have a conversation about, not being in America. When I just did my makeup today and my hair, can we have a little commotion? Can we get a little commotion? But I went to because I thought I was going to. I did go to this day party, but when I got there, it was just so lame, and I was just like, "Fuck, I don't want to waste this look." So I was like, "Let me record a YouTube video." So here we are. Somebody got to see me. Yeah. I guess I can start off with what drew me to traveling. I would say a few different things. So when I was younger, I read a lot of young adult fiction, mostly sci-fi, dystopian type books. And they say when you read, you get to travel without ever leaving your home. And I believe that to be true. You just experience so many different ways of life and lives lived. Is that the same thing? But you just walk in the shoes of a lot of different people in the world, different locations in the world. You read about different cultures, and that can just be very influential on the way you see the world or the way you want to see the world. In my case, I grew up in a very small town, so not a lot of traveling happened. A lot of the folks that I grew up with were also from that small town, not a lot of immigrants around, not a lot of exposure to different cultures. So, reading was my way to learn about those things. Throughout my childhood, I would say we would travel regionally, like to surrounding states. In middle school is when I started sort of thinking about my future, thinking about college. I was in seventh grade, trying to plan my career so that I could make money and do what I want. And one of those things that was a requirement for me was having a job that allowed me to travel and see the world. So for a majority of middle school and early high school, I wanted to be a travel nurse just so I could travel around and experience different places in the US. Then I interned at a hospital and was like, yeah, I'm not emotionally stable enough to do this. I'm not emotionally stable enough to be surrounded by sick people. Honestly, it was really hard. So I gave up on that career, but I still wanted to travel, right? So still was focused on the money first, but then I went to college and I saw or I heard about study abroad programs, and I was like, for sure, 1000%, I'm going to study abroad when I am in college. I don't care how I have to make it happen. I'm going to get whatever scholarship I need to study abroad. And I did that. I was in the study abroad office. I couldn't even study abroad until for a semester until my junior year. I was in that office freshman year. They knew my name. She knew my name. I was ready. I was preparing. I was getting ready because I really wanted to go. And this would be my first time out of the country when I studied abroad in college. So I went to Milan, Italy, which was amazing. One of the best times of my life. I got a scholarship to go there. And that moment was a big turning point in my life because my mind completely blew open. Like being from a small town, I really the main thing I took away from that experience is what you think is normal here. What I grew up thinking was normal in my life, in my culture, in my experiences, was not necessarily the norm in other places. Like I said before, I would read about different cultures. But in America, growing up, especially if you don't have a lot of exposure to things, and especially growing up in rural parts of America, you think America is the center of the world. That's a common sentiment among people. America propagandizes you in a way to make you think that this is the best place on earth, that everyone wants to be America, everyone envies America. And traveling taught me that's not true. It also, a big thing for me that I realized while traveling was that American values, ways of life, and community are American, and it doesn't look the same in other places. Especially being in Italy, there was a lot of emphasis in Italian culture on communal activities with your friends and with your family, as well as your job not being the center of your life or not even being a part of your personality. And I feel like, especially when I was in college at that time, everyone was so career focused. And of course, you're in college. That's kind of the point of going to college, so that you can have like a career. As me, that was against my nature, and I wasn't even aware of it until I went to Italy. I wasn't even aware how much frustration and tension having such focus on my job was bringing me, or what job I would have was bringing me. It's something you don't realize until you're out of it, right? It was like it's like the allegory of the cave. Like, you don't know you're in a cave. If you grew up in a cave your whole life, you don't know that you're in a cave necessarily. This is just like your room. This is your life. You don't know about the outside. All of that to say, having that study abroad experience really opened my eyes. And it was actually cut short. I studied abroad in 2020. So, yeah, the pandemic happened. Italy was one of the first places where it got super bad. Milan, specifically, actually. So, I was supposed to be there for a semester and ended up only being there for 6 weeks. But as you can see, those 6 weeks were very impactful for me. So after that experience, I still knew I wanted to travel again one day and be able to, have a job where I could be anywhere. And so that's why I became a writer. So I just want to give tips to some folks that may be wanting to travel themselves and not really sure how to get started, how I have situated my life in order to be able to travel as much as I do. I've lived abroad for a couple years ago. I completely lived abroad in two countries, Colombia and Spain, and I've traveled here and there again. So I just wanted to share some tips in case it might be helpful to anyone out there thinking, how can I travel? How can I, experience life in other countries? I want to first acknowledge the privilege that I have with being able to travel. One thing is, I don't necessarily have attachments. It's so much easier to travel when you don't have attachments. And what I mean by that is, you don't have a lease. You're not tied to a lease for like an apartment. You're not tied to like a mortgage. You're not tied to a car lease, car payment. You don't have kids. I don't have kids. Right now I have this apartment, but I'm moving, so I'm able to travel again. I don't have a car, as y'all know, so I don't have that to worry about. I'm not caring for dependent family members, which is a big thing as well. Like, if if your family is very dependent on you, it can be hard to leave them for long periods of times, and I completely see that. I think the biggest thing for me is my job. I'm very blessed and grateful to work in an organization that is not only remote, but trust me to get the job done even if I'm not in America full time. Even if I'm traveling somewhere and staying somewhere for a couple months, I'm still working normally on my job. I'm still getting on my computer, logging onto my Zoom and working. So I understand not everyone has that privilege. A lot of people have stationary jobs. But I got my job during the pandemic, so it's been remote since then. So that is a big part of why I'm able to travel. If I had a job that was stationary, I would not be able to do it. So if you're someone that is thinking, what kind of job can I have that will allow me to travel? As a writer, you can write from anywhere, so that's kind of easy. I have met a lot of people while traveling as well, and a lot of the jobs that they have are tech related. They're like sales consultants, software engineers, entrepreneurs who have some sort of tech startup. Some people teach English in different places, so I've known people that are living in Korea that are teaching English there, working full time. Maybe teaching yoga or teaching or being some sort of personal trainer is something you could like travel to do, to work, to earn money. I also know people that have quit their job in America. And I'm not telling you to quit your job now. Especially in this market. I ain't telling you to quit your job. Okay? But I know people who have quit their job and have went to work abroad. Now, every dollar ain't the American dollar, The pound worth more than a dollar right now, but American it's a big privilege as well to be able to earn American money while living in a different country. And that is not always good for the local people that live in that country, but that's another tangent. So, yeah, you can quit your job, work in another country. For example, I know this woman that quit her job where she was working and went to work in a hostel in Thailand and earn money there. The And it's just like, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? You may not be making American money abroad, but is your just life better overall? Like, do you have community? Are you getting around easily? Are you living on near the beach where you can go to the beach every day? Like, are you eating good food? Like, who cares if you're making less money when, everything else has increased exponentially. You know what I mean? Like, your happiness has increased. That's what I'm saying. Like, money is everything, guys. Money ain't everything. You can be somewhere else. Dang. But, still not be earning that much and, be happier. Money doesn't equate to happiness. But it damn sure get you close. I ain't gonna sit here and act like it don't, cause anyways. All of that to say, yeah, it's ways. So think about careers that you can just do remotely. Get creative with it. Do some research online. There are lots of digital nomads out there, and that brings me also to, first, before I get into like some tips, there are downsides to traveling, y'all. It's a very unstable thing. Like, if you are someone that values stability, maybe traveling is not for you because, you're living out of a suitcase. Depending on where you are, you may be going on more excursions, exploring more, doing more adventure type stuff, which, can get exhausting. If you're also creating content is a job you can have in travel. Yeah, it's not for the weak. Like, the last time I traveled abroad for a while, I was very exhausted by that time, like living out of a suitcase. At that point, I was in Europe, so I was working 6 hours ahead, and that means I would end up working all day, have my normal work where I'm doing my work in the early day, and then in the evening I would have like my meetings and stuff, so I wouldn't be going to bed till like 11. And if y'all know me, I'd be in the bed early. Is this thing focused? Imagine if it's not. Damn, I don't even remember where I was, where I left off. I forgot what I was talking about. I don't have that much longer to record, so let me just get to the tips before my camera dies and I'm already like losing my light. So, yeah, just plan a career transition, do some research on different careers that you can have if you want to travel. Even content creation. I know a lot of content creators that travel. And I think I was talking about the downsides of traveling as well, apart from the instability and just also meeting people, great, amazing people, forming deep connections with people that you don't know if you're ever going to see again. That is tough as well. And another downside to it is a lot of the time you are going to places where your dollar may be worth more, but being it's putting the local people at a grave disadvantage. It's increasing prices for them, increasing the cost of living for them while benefiting you. Like I know personally I love going to Colombia. Colombia is one of my favorite places in the entire world. And the dollar is worth more there, and I can imagine how local people are being priced out of the areas of the city where tourism is sort of thriving or is a big part of the economy. Like you can go on Airbnb and see apartments listed for like $1,000 a month. I'm paying almost that in Atlanta. Like that's what I'm paying in Atlanta, and I know local people, are not paying $1,000 for an apartment in Colombia, in some parts of Colombia. So yeah, it's tough. It's a way to combat that is when you are traveling, try and give back in some way. Like I try to volunteer, whether it's like teaching English or just participating in some like community cleanup, nature cleanup, or something like this. Just so you're not just taking from this place, you there. Try and get back some, especially if you're coming from America, because in so many countries, like it, the American dollar is making it tough for locals, and that's shitty. That's just fucking shitty. Apart from that, some other tips I would say, apart from just like your job being the first thing, is like a way to save money. And trust me, I'm no expert in saving money. I feel like this year was the first year I'm able to like actually start saving money a little bit. I didn't have no savings. I didn't have no emergency fund. I barely got it now, to be honest, but I I live by this sentiment. You never know what's gonna happen. So live for today, not tomorrow's satisfaction. So some of the things I do, like clutch my purse tight on, are like clothes. I don't buy a lot of clothes. I don't buy a lot of shoes. I don't buy alcohol. I'm not copping weed every week. I don't have expensive hobbies. I go to the book club. I go on hikes. I I go chill with my friends at the library. Free activities. Free activities. So, because those things add up, you know what I mean? I'm not going out to $250 dinners every weekend, maybe once a quarter. Once a quarter. But, I'm not buying like expensive jewelry all the time. Those things add up. Those, people got whole plane tickets in their closet just from like shoes and stuff. So when you cut back on those types of things, you realize how much money you can save. And another thing is buying, especially the material stuff. Like people in other countries don't care about that. Like it's only in America, out of all places I've been, only in America will you see people care so much about like their outfit and how they're perceived. Like I feel like even in places like Paris where like fashion is a big thing, it's not so much like about designers or it's a lot more sentiment and a lot more feelings and intention that go to purchasing more expensive materials. In America, it seems like a lot of people think about how they're going to be perceived for having these items, but in other places, it seems that when you're purchasing maybe something that's more expensive or a high quality, it's more purposeful. So that's just how it seems from my point of view. So, it's best when you go to some of these places not to try and stand out by being decked out in the latest designer clothes or having like the flashy jewelry and all of that. That's how your ass get robbed. That's how you get attacked. That's how you get that's how you get a target on your back by being like that. So it's best to try and like blend in. You travel somewhere, purchase like local clothes, purchase jewelry from like local vendors. Like that's just unique. Like who could say I bought these earrings from Spain. Like I got these this jacket in Egypt or something. Like that's purchase things there. Like don't spend all your money trying to buy stuff to go on a trip either. You know? There's a difference between like domestic travel and international travel, of course. I've been mainly talking about traveling abroad, but something I did do when I was in between, when I didn't have a lease here and I was in between travels and I would come back home and like visit my family, but I didn't want to stay with my family because I wanted to like do hood rat shit with my friends and I didn't want to be coming home at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I would do house sitting with this company called Trusted House Sitters. And when I look back on that time, it's kind of wild. Like people would actually let me live in their houses, look after their pets, a total stranger come living in your entire house with all your belongings in there. I mean, to be on the platform and to participate on the platform, am I in focus? You have to have a background check and stuff like that. I really hope I'm not in focus. You really have to have like a background check and stuff like that. So, of course, that happened and you have to pay to be on the platform too. But still, then you just never know. Like, you just never know. Like, who you letting into your house, you know what I mean? So, looking back, I can't believe people let me do that. But I would stay in people's houses for like a month sometimes. Like, especially like my first time doing it, I stayed in this woman's house in California for like 3 weeks looking after her cat. I stayed, mainly I've done it in California. I've done it in Atlanta a little bit too. But I would say that's a good way if you have a remote job then too. Like it all comes down to your job because you gotta eat, you gotta live. You know what I mean? So really consider like job and what skills you can get to be able to have a job that you can do from anywhere. And focus on giving yourself that autonomy in life. I feel like even if you're not trying to travel, like having that autonomy over your job is very freeing, you know what I mean? A book I read, I didn't read the whole thing, but 4 Hour Work Week, I think it talks a little bit about just being able to have more autonomy over your job. So if you haven't checked out that book, check it out. Last tips for getting into travel, I would say, yeah, just save, you know which countries are more expensive. Like, I'm not traveling to freaking Switzerland because I know that's an expensive place, even though I love my girl Tina Turner. Fun fact, Tina Turner, the icon that woman was, this woman in her 70s got a Swiss citizenship. She passed the citizenship test, one of the hardest citizenship tests in the world. Knew fluent German. And she became a citizen in her 70s of Switzerland and renounced her U.S., citizenship. I just think that is iconic. It's kind of the path I want to take. But I probably won't renounce unless I'm making Tina money. You know what I mean? Like, I can see why she did it. She don't need us. She don't need America. But me, right now, in the future, I will get to that point. But right now, yeah. So Oh, and there's a lot of programs nowadays that have just flung up, I feel like, in the last few years, or maybe I just heard about them in the last few years, but programs where you can volunteer abroad, and the programs that you're volunteering for give you housing and accommodations, different accommodations, I think. I haven't tried it personally. I think one program I know of is World Packers. I haven't tried it personally, but I have seen like videos on YouTube of people doing it, so that's something to consider too. All in all, if you want to travel, you just have to make it happen for yourself, like anything in this world. If there's something you're really passionate about and you feel like you can sacrifice for, or you just have to have the wherewithal, the willpower to make things fall in place if you want to travel. I know sometimes external circumstances sort of get in the way of it, but if you start right now trying to set things up to be able to travel, even if it's 5 years from now, you could say you worked to be able to do it and you were able to do it. The time is going to pass anyway, you know what I mean? So if it's something you're passionate about, just do it. I mean, I have learned so much about myself through traveling, and so much about like my own place in this world, how I'm seen as a black woman, how I'm seen as an American, how I view like my relationships with my family and my friends, and my American values that I was raised upon, my education that I was raised upon. It has opened my mind to so many things, the people I've met, the conversations I've had with people, the depth of the connections in such short periods of time is absolutely outstanding. Like, it's fantastic. What I've learned about politics, what I've learned about technology, how the world views different technologies, the amount of jobs that I didn't know existed before traveling. Like, this one guy, and maybe I was just naive for not knowing this, but he like was managing people's YouTube channels. I didn't even know like that was a thing you could do. To be so honest with you, I had no idea that you could do that. So, but yeah, you just learn so much about like your place in this world, and so the nature I've seen across this world. Like, don't get me wrong, the US, there's so many parts of the US I want to explore nature wise, but seeing so many different wonders. I haven't seen any wonders of the world, I don't think, but just like the different landscapes of different countries, like the Canary Islands in Spain, hiking there, seeing like the mountains, driving a car up the side of the mountains in Tenerife. Like, y'all, it's like you look at that stuff and you're like, God is real, bro. God carved this with their hand. There's no way there was an intention behind the creation of this mountain. You know what I mean? Like, it's no way this just happened. You know what I mean? This beauty. I mean, you just be in awe of the world, and that's something I've always wanted to explore. Just see what the world has to offer. See what the planet that is housing me, that like birthed me, that is home to me. See what it has to offer. See what different souls I come across, and who crosses my path, and who like leaves an imprint on me forever. I'm getting so deep, but it's true. Like, traveling has just, it's changed my entire being, and I wish it was something everyone had access to, truly, because it has the power to really help you grow as a person, and grow in a positive way as a person. So I appreciate all the lessons and the realizations and the friends and the community and the lessons I've learned from traveling. It's it There are stories that will stay with me forever. Maybe that's another video where I sort of talk about some of my adventures while traveling. But for real though, this world is a big place and there's a lot of it to see, and I want to see a lot of it. I want to experience a lot of it while I'm here. I appreciate the time I've been able to spend in the places that I've been. I hope to one day be able to, extend that to other people in some way. And yeah, I view myself as a global citizen. There's actually a book I've been wanting to read called Global Citizen, so I'm excited to see what that is about. But yeah, I find myself a lot of the time not really, at this point in my life, not really knowing like where my home is, like where I want to settle down at, in a sense. And yeah, trying to figure that out. So we will see where the wind takes me. But for right now, I'm enjoying the journey, and I appreciate y'all for watching. Thanks for tuning into my video. Thanks for spending time listening to me ramble, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.